there's been a lot of persecution. There was persecution at the beginning. There's still persecution today. But God has not always left you hanging, so to speak. He hasn't just let the persecution come. There have been many times when people have tried to persecute you, tried to persecute the church, and God has stopped them. There's a couple of stories.
Yeah, many, to mention all the stories, it takes hours, of course.
We couldn't contain the books,
Yeah.
I don't think.
But so many wonderful things had happened in our lives. For instance, one community leader down south, they call it Bore. In that area, the community leader was so proud, man. And he doesn't care of God, and he was insulting God. And he burned the church. It was a big church.
He burned the church down.
He burned it down with fire. And then he was so proud, even talking that he's going to burn the churches, Ephesian churches in that area. And then after that, the brothers, they came Sunday morning, and it was ashes. And then they were praying on the ashes. They were so sad, and they were praying on the ashes. They were worshiping for months on the ashes. And then after some months, they built again the church on that place. They said, I want to wait until you finish building, and I'm going to burn it down again, he said. And then they finished building, and then again he burned it down. And then the angel of the Lord, right away, just began to burn him. And it's impossible, invisible fire. Nobody could see it. But he was crying for 5 days, I am burning, and nobody could go around him. He was just as hot as iron, heated iron. And after 5 days he died. After he died, nobody could touch his body. And the people were around him, and nobody could touch because it was so hot. And then after that, what they did was they dipped a blanket in the water, and they brought it with full water, just dipped it in the water and put it on the body. And the body was so hot, and then the smoke came out. And and again the blanket became so hot. It's unbelievable to say. To just believe it. But the people are witnesses, in hundreds there. And then they didn't know what to do. So at last, one old man, it came to his mind. He said, we need to cut big branches of a tree, and then they brought big branches and put the branch, and then they turned him with some stick, turned him onto the branch, and then they brought another branch on top of it, on top of the body, and then they roped it with a rope. And then they carry, by the end of the branches, they carry that body and put it into the ditch, into the what you call funeral place, and they buried him, and that has brought a great revival in that area. Again, the leader of that province, of that area, the Bori area, the district governor, he began to go and burn 10 churches of our churches. They were grass-made churches, and he burned them. And when he came back, his 2 children, he found them dead. And he said, at that time, I'm not going to touch that church anymore.
God is a jealous God.
Yeah, a very jealous God. And in another place in Borana, there were brothers, there is very great revival in that area. And those old men, then they were so worried because everybody is going to UPC now, to the Apostolic Church. And they were so worried, and they wanted to decide something. And then they gathered together, and they decided to kill them. They killed the preachers only. And then they called 40 of them. They didn't know. They thought the message was, we want to believe, come and make us believe. We want you, all of you, to come, and we want to be taught and be baptized, they said. And they thought, it was true. And they were fasting for 3 days and nights. After fasting 3 days and nights, all of them, 40 of them, came, and they were waiting, sitting down under trees. And at that Brother Demby, his name was Brother Demby, the leader of that area, he stood up and began to read the Bible. Said, "Stop. We don't want you to read your Bible. We want you to be what we want you to be. If you don't say okay, then we are going to finish you, to kill you." Today, as I said, when they knew that they have called them for that purpose, they began to run away immediately. They were tired. They didn't eat for 3 days and nights, but something empowered them, and they began to fly away. And then those people, they depended on their guns, and they just picked their guns and they began to fire the guns. Then they tried to fire the guns on their backs, but the first gun exploded. The bullet didn't go out; it was exploded. And then the second gun, he was firing, but it was dead. None of those bullets went out. And those brothers, they escaped that terrible death penalty, praise God. And after they ran for one day, or the whole day, they didn't even see back. Something, gave them energy, power. They were running as fast as something. It was so wonderful. It was not even, they say, it was not human running. Some power was helping them to do like that. And after they go there, the leader who organized this, his children and his wife were immediately, I think the angel of the Lord has punched them, and they were nearly dying. And he didn't know what to do. He took them to the holy water, he took them anywhere, many places, but no healing. And they were dying. And then one old man, he advised him, if you don't go to those people and ask them forgiveness, they are all going to die. And then he began to go by horse, and he thought that they would kill him. But he just went. And then he fell down on the foot of that Brother Demby and asked him forgiveness. And he said, "My children and my wife are dying. Please, if you could have mercy on me, please help me," he said. And then they ran back to his home. And immediately when they reached there and touched them, they were all healed, completely healed. And they sat down. They began to eat and drink. They were completely dead. Almost dead. Then he said, after he saw his wife and his children just immediately like that, healed, he said, "This God is my God. Your God is my God. I want to give my land for the church." And he gave the land, and they built the church there, and it's becoming wonderful. So persecution is becoming a very powerful tool for revival. Powerful.
And that's what we should use it for.
Yeah, it's a spice of revival. You cannot do it without spice. Any food you make, if there is no spice, it's not sweet. And any revival, if there is no persecution, it's not revival. It doesn't go long.